Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I wanted to make you aware before we get going that Link2 has continued their for, I think it's for one day, well it was one, it's like 2 days. They bought a large bulk order of Ripple equity, and they're doing it at a, I guess you'd call it a discounted price. It's a mystery price because I don't know what the price is, but that's a thumbnail, by the way, mystery price. But anyway, this, I'd be shocked if this is still sitting there come tomorrow. So I'll put a link in the top of the description to that so you can go check that out. Because I don't know how many rounds of Ripple they've put up there. I forgot what Link2 calls it, but I don't know how many times they've put it up there, but it's got to be over like 10 to 15, and every time the stuff has sold out like within a day or two, just depending on how much they put up there. But it's like crazy, and it's just, look at what Ripple is, folks. Look what they've done. They were valued at $10 billion before the SEC lawsuit drops, and then they were valued. They sold. I think they bought back shares from one of the venture capital firms that had invested in them at $15 billion valuation. So literally, their valuation is higher than it was when the SEC lawsuit dropped. And so I guess the anticipation is, well, if that's the case, what is this thing going to do once they're out from under this case and they go public? And so anyway, crashes are good. Why crashes are good? This is the guy that wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, folks. These are freaking wise words with one caveat here. The caveat being, crashes are good if you're doing things the right way. I'll tell you, I keep telling you how I do things. First of all, I don't invest more than I can afford to lose. Second of all, I don't invest in anything unless I've done the research to understand what I'm invested in. And third, I make sure that I have a cash buffer at all times that is relative to what my expenses are. You young people, let me say that again. I keep a cash buffer that is relative to what my expenses are, and I'll add one other thing. I always keep my overhead low, but more specifically than that, the overhead that you must keep low is the overhead that's fixed, like a home mortgage, the things you can't shed if things really get bad. It's important that you keep those expenses very low. In other words, your variable expenses, the things you can take off of you, those are a totally different animal than the things you can't take off of you. If you keep your fixed expenses very low, then you don't ever have to worry about a downturn or a recession if you've got a good cash reserve that's relative to what those fixed expenses are. That's the key. And I highly recommend, for myself, I don't do it. Being in the leveraged business, that's not something I'm interested in. So now, against that backdrop, I tell you this: why crashes are good. Rich Dad, he wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. For those of you that don't know the story on that, Guy Kiyosaki, I think is his name. He had a stepdad. His stepdad, as I recall, was the rich dad. He wrote a book. The stepdad was the rich dad, and his real dad was the poor dad. And he wrote a book where he basically told you the lessons that his poor dad told him and told you the lessons that his rich dad told him. And that's what the book is about. And the rich dad was rich for a reason. And so he was smart enough to take those lessons, put them in a book, and explain the world to people. Okay? I highly recommend you read it. Why crashes are good. Rich Dad taught his son and me, your profit is made when you buy, not when you sell. Bitcoin is the future of money. Now, that's his opinion. He believes in that investment. I think it's going to have a great future too. That is why I will back up the truck. Man, he must be a listener, because I said that the other day. I will back up the truck when the bottom is in. It may be 17K or even lower, 11K. Time to get richer is coming. Take care. And that cushion of cash that I say that I keep, it's also a cushion that's big enough to use to be able to buy dips, folks, when things like this do happen. That's why I was able to do it this week. And boy, did I do it. I bought some XRP, some XLM. I actually bought some physical silver this week too. I do buy physical silver. Okay, moving along. I don't want this video to get too long. It could. Now, there's some reason, I don't know what the reason is, but there's a reason that all guns are pointing at Coinbase all of a sudden out of nowhere. I have
last night
my antenna is going off here.
Coinbase's CFO, Alicia Haas, in an exclusive interview, and asked her about the outages that some customers on Coinbase experienced on Thursday that seemed to create even more anxiety.
We had a short outage today that is now back up, and our systems are all running as expected.
But what happened? Was it too much selling, too much buying? Router fell down? What?
I can't go into the details. Small bug that we found that we.
All right. I don't need to show any more of it, but I have watched over the last few days a constant drum beat. It's almost like they're trying to create a perception that Coinbase is unstable. Now, what it reminds me of is this. Coinbase insiders dumped nearly $5 billion in coin stock shortly after listing. Remember, folks, and I could never prove this, but I'm going to tell you this, folks. Gary Gensler, I keep telling you, Gary Gensler's there. I can see it a mile away. Here's what's been done. The SEC, in cahoots with all these Ethereum people, the SEC and all these people on Wall Street, they've all been working together. And what they have tried to do is create a monopoly for Bitcoin and Ethereum. And what that does is it gives Bitcoin the store of value, and Ethereum, it gives DeFi, so lending, staking, all that, and it gives token issuance, okay? Thus creating a new Federal Reserve. This is a monopoly attempt, and it can't be allowed to happen, okay? But in conjunction with that, what's the other thing? What does Gary Gensler keep saying? He keeps saying that we need to regulate, we need to look at these exchanges. In other words, I'm the one that approves everything. He won't tell you what's a security on your exchange, but he can go after you, and he's not even going to tell you. Well, what's the purpose of that? Because all his Wall Street buddies do have the brokerage licenses, and Gary would be the gatekeeper. You want a brokerage license? You come see me. I'm Gary. Okay? So what do you see happening now? Now you're in the process. After all of the major shareholders have sold out of theirs, here's Coinbase Insider's dump. Here's an article, Whale Watching, Mark Andreessen sells Coinbase. Okay, and now you're seeing everybody turn on Coinbase, almost as if they want to hand crypto off to their Wall Street buddies. So what do? You take out Coinbase, or you at least injure Coinbase. And then in comes Gary to go out, he'll probably file a lawsuit against an exchange, or who knows, maybe even Coinbase. And then all of a sudden, his Wall Street buddies are going to put their hand up and say, hey, we're safe, we can do it. Remember the video with Gary Gensler and Tim Draper where he says, what can these guys do that JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs can't do? And what have they all been doing for the last few years? Getting their custody ready. Once they have that, game on. Okay? And then meanwhile, you've got, now, this is Jeremy Allaire with Circle. Who backs Circle? Goldman Sachs. He has the USDC stablecoin. What happened this week? We had a competitor stablecoin gets taken out. Okay? Terra gets taken out. I'm about to show you a video where they say on CNBC, almost like they were prepping for what happened this week, a video on CNBC just a few weeks ago, saying, yeah, Terra's an Ethereum competitor. Well, this guy right here built his coin on Ethereum, and he's got Goldman Sachs backing him. Watch this. Well, let me hit the refresh.
You're in the middle of all of this. Explain what's happening, because the truth is that a stable coin was supposed to be stable. It was supposed to be a buck was worth a buck. And now, at least in these two cases, that's not the case.
Yeah, well, so specifically with Terra, really what you saw was a system.
All right, so now they're having, we don't have to watch all this. Now they're having the Circle CEO, who's got his own stable coin, to come on and explain all the problems with Terra. Well, I'll show you, and then you got Zero Hedge saying stablecoins could soon have to park cash at the Fed, according to J.P. Morgan, who was involved in Ethereum before the public mainnet launch. And then you got, now this is into the Luna drama. CZ Binance says, I'm very disappointed with how this UST Luna incident was handled, or not handled, by Terra team. We requested their team to restore the network, burn the extra minted Luna, and recover the UST peg. So far, we've not gotten any response. And then there was this. Just in, Terra CEO Do Kwon's spouse has requested police protection after an unknown person visited their home and rang the doorbell. And then you got this. Now, folks, smoke rising. I'm going to write that down. Smoke's rising because this, remember, I showed you the video where Gary Gensler was just out of nowhere was saying, oh, have they made any money? In that video that was a couple of weeks ago, a week or two ago. Well, according to Warren Buffett, when the tide goes out, you see who's swimming without their swim trunks, right? Well, this was on March 29th, 2 or 3 weeks ago, okay? Before the Terra thing. CNBC covers it, but listen to what they say.
Blockchains out there, so you can think of it as a competitor to Ethereum.
So it's a competitor to Ethereum.
A lot more going on than just this stablecoin. There's a number of other cryptocurrencies and initiatives. One of those is the popular crypto.
Now, you have to also understand as you watch this Do Kwon guy, they're out of South Korea, and I've watched him in videos bragging about how he's not really worried about the SEC because he's over there in South Korea. What can they do to me?
Called Luna, the stablecoin I mentioned, UST has grown to a $16 billion market cap. Analysts I'm talking to say all of this is likely to catch the attention of U.S. regulators, and it may not sit well. There's been a couple warnings so far out of Washington about stablecoins and the risk to financial stability. It is worth noting, though, that this project is based in South Korea, and its founder, Do Kwon, last year was subpoenaed by the SEC, but has also sued that agency in response. And so the idea of this new steady demand, though, is helping the narrative around Bitcoin, these so-called whales, adding to their balance sheets and holding for the long term is really seen as a bullish sign for crypto markets and blockchains out there. So you can think of it.
All right, so there's that. Okay, and then Crypto Cowboy has been knocking it out of the park. Do Kwon Investments. This is what's interesting. Folks, it never fails. Every single time that we're finding shady stuff, it all is the same people that are the core people in this whole Ethereum ecosystem. It's the same freaking people. He's gone and found, first he looked at who Terra's in, what some of the companies that Terra was invested in. I'm not going to go through this whole thread. I'm just going to let you see his summary. It all, when you start looking at who this guy's invested in and all the people that are in that same ecosystem and investors as well, it leads to Joe Lubin, Hinman, Coinbase Ventures, Alibaba, Citadel, Andreessen Horowitz, Multicoin, all of these people. Okay? Now, and then David Goldstein says Do Kwon needs to come out and just be upfront with all the Luna UST holders. Hiding or going radio silent isn't a good look. I agree. And so does his lead investor, Mike Novogratz, who was bragging on a video I showed yesterday about how he made more money on Luna last year than anything. Now look who popped up today. Stefan Huber did his homework, and he tweets this out. Hey, Bill, you swore under oath and threat of punishment at the Ripple interrogation last year that it was just your personal opinion that Ethereum is sufficiently decentralized. And now you're talking about we at the SEC again. Doesn't look good for you. This is from this month. Okay, let's listen to this. Okay, and before you listen to it, I want to make a comment here. Look, there's only one of a couple of things that's going on here. This guy's going out running his mouth now. We haven't seen anything from Bill Hinman in a year, to my knowledge. And now he's out running his mouth. It makes you wonder if somebody has given him some kind of an immunity agreement. You know what I mean? And if he's got an immunity agreement, it makes you wonder what did he agree to who did he agree to expose for the immunity agreement if he did get one? That's what I was thinking. But he's out running his mouth for some reason. And look, these people have absolutely no shame. Listen to this guy.
Some respects have been attractive because folks have really latched on to something that we had articulated back in 2018. You know, if you have an organization where there's not an identifiable active participant or sponsor or third party that's really directing how the DAO's success might go, then you might not have something that gets regulated as a security. And back then we said, you know, Ethereum had reached the point, even though it's not a DAO, but Ethereum had reached the point in terms of an investment in a token that did not need to be regulated as a security because there wasn't a central party sort of directing the activities and people weren't relying on a central party to deliver them a return, which is one of the keystones of whether or not you have a security. If you are setting up a DAO and you feel like...
So while he was crafting the Ethereum free pass speech, folks, so this guy, let's listen to that last part again.
Might go, then you might not have something that gets regulated as a security. And back then we said, you know, Ethereum had reached the point, even though it's not a DAO, but Ethereum had reached the point in terms of an investment in a token that did not need to be regulated as a security because there wasn't a central party sort of directing the activities and people weren't relying on a central party to deliver them a return, which is one of the keystones.
That's a bold-faced freaking lie, folks. He, leading up to that Ethereum free pass speech he gave, he was literally meeting with the people that were heading up this and continue to this day. He was meeting with Joseph Lubin and these guys. Look, here's the meetings right here. Perkins Coie sends Bill Hinman, this is on March 18th. The speech was on June 14th, 2018. This is March 26th. Perkins Coie sends Bill Hinman the memo and safe harbor proposal. The only crypto asset mentioned in the safe harbor is Ethereum. Note, SEC Commissioner Hester Peirce would later call for a safe harbor to apply for a 3-year period for new digital asset projects. 28th of March, Ether investors meet secretly with Bill Hinman. These are people from Consensus. These are people from the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, folks. These are people that are literally behind Ethereum, and they're still behind it, taking this thing to becoming Ethereum 2.0. The Ethereum Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, Ethereum Foundation, Consensus. These are literally the central parties that are, to this day, on video almost every week, doing videos where they're all planning the release of Ethereum 2.0. This is absurd. It's a lie. This idea that it's somehow decentralized is a lie, and it always has been. And everybody with a half a brain knows it. And Bill Hinman knows it too, which is really creepy to think that these guys think that they are this out of reach of any kind of law or anything, that they can get away with anything. It's really creepy that that's what the United States of America has come to. The meeting is leaked. Okay, remember, this was all supposed to be in secret what they were doing. The meeting was leaked, and then it hits the New York Times, I think it was the New York Times, and he reports that Ether investors are seeking a non-security designation. And then, by some pure coincidence, Gary Gensler walks to a podium and says he thinks Ripple and Ethereum need more regulatory clarity, and that he said he thought Ripple and Ethereum were also securities. I'm sure Gary Gensler didn't have anything to do with any of these meetings. He wasn't put up somehow to go out and make this statement, I'm sure. Then on the 23rd of April, SEC meets again with Joseph Lubin and Consensus. And I'm sure that Bill Hinman was nowhere involved in that, right? Here's the other thing. If you look at the video from Stefan Huber right here. This woman right here, well, her name is, let's go over here and find it. I'll get to that in a second. Her name is Rebecca Rettig, and she is the one that's interviewing Bill Hinman. This is her. She's general counsel at Aave, board of directors at Silvergate. But she's the general counsel at Aave. This is what you need to focus on. Do you remember this article by Rosalind Layton? Remember when Coinbase Lend was being threatened by the SEC that they were going to come after and that was, by the way, after all those insiders, the major investors had sold, is my understanding, right? Remember when Coinbase Lend, it kind of makes sense when you start thinking about it like this. Coinbase is the golden goose, and then all the insiders, all the people in this story, they sell out of it, and now you got forces that are going after Coinbase just in time for all of this to be handed off to Wall Street. What a coincidence. But back to this. So Rosalind Layton wrote this article. It's time to end the SEC's clarity charade on crypto. And I remember it. This is when they were threatening to go after Coinbase Lend. I remember this. Why does Coinbase get a Wells notice while the crypto lenders like Aave build on the Ethereum platform get a pass? And I knew when I saw that she was throwing out red meat to us. Okay? Not accusing her of anything. I'm just saying I can spot a clue when there is one. So here, now you have, it's come full circle. You got Bill Hinman, who gives Ethereum and Bitcoin this monopoly and the free pass to Ethereum. And then he leaves and goes to Andreessen Horowitz, and the same Andreessen Horowitz who used to be an owner in Coinbase but sold theirs right when it went IPO, is my understanding. And now, 1 year later, he's in a conference with this woman who is with a lending platform. And remember, Gary Gensler said that is a security. Crypto lending is a security. But he's not going after Aave, right? And she's with Aave, and she's interviewing Bill Hinman here a year later. And I am seeing around corners, folks. Can you see it? Can you see it now? Hey, there's Maria Bartiromo, who has never covered any of this about the Ethereum free pass. There is Andrew Ross Sorkin, who has never covered seriously any of this about the Ethereum free pass. Do you see the freaking problem that the United States of America has, folks? Scary things for our children's future, because these people all are in the same freaking club. Sorry to show you all that leading into your Friday. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that I only wish that any of these people had just an ounce of shame, but they do not. They don't live in the world that you and I live in, where we've worked our whole lives like crazy to hopefully hand off something better for the next generation and for our kids and their kids. No. These people live in a different world. These people live in a world of backroom deals and secret meetings, and for me, but not for you. You know, that's the world that they live in. They live in the world where once you get your degree in hand from Harvard or Columbia or Princeton, that all of a sudden they're considered smarter than you and I don't matter, and they get to be in the secret meetings and the backroom deals. This is what's wrong. This is what has destroyed the United States of America, and somebody's got to do something about it.